Welcome back everybody to another YouTube video. Today we're going to be reading Chapter 2 of Rescue Dogs Ember. So I'm not going to be talking much. Let's get right into it. Okay. Something or somebody covered the small yellow puppy's muzzle and pushed air into her lungs. She squeaked and sputtered as she exhaled. "Come on, little Ember." The puppy recognized the booming voice from before. Only now it was low, soothing rumble. "Come on," it coaxed. The little dog's eyes fluttered open, and she coughed. She was outside, wrapped in the huge hand of the man with the booming voice. The air was clearer through the smell of smoke was everywhere. Lights flashed in the darkness, and there were lots of voices. "There you go," the man rumbled. He gently rubbed her chest with his thumb as he cradled her. His hand was so big the little dog fit comfortably in the palm of his fiery glove. The puppy looked past the fingers to her first glimpse of the world outside of her nest. Large vehicles with bright lights surrounded them. More humans stood around in small clusters, looking at what was left of her still smoldering building. Some of them held hoses and sprayed water, which sent up plumes of smoke and steam. The little dog looked down to see her mother and littermates. They were laying on a cloth on the ground. The woman knelt beside them. "You're going to be okay," the man said. He moved closer to her. He moved her closer to his hairless face. So close she could feel the warmth coming from his dark skin. She coughed again and squirmed. She was not uncomfortable, only curious. She wanted to see what was happening. She wanted to know who these people were and what they were doing. She wanted to know everything. She sat up in the glove, and other nearby human voices laughed and cheered. They were happy she'd made it out of the choking darkness, too. She stretched out her neck to give a gentle man who pulled her out a lick. He had given her back her breath. This was a thank you. Her tiny tongue found the small dent on the side of his cheek that appeared when he smiled. He tasted like thick air and salt and something pitney. He laughed, a happy rumble. She licked him again. Marcus Riley held the puppy gently and gazed at her with his big brown eyes, while Greta, one of his co-workers, checked the burn on the puppy's back. The little dog's golden yellow coat seemed to glow, even beneath the soot and ash that covered her. Marcus smiled. The puppy should have been trembling, terrified. Instead, her eyes glinted with mischief, or curiosity, or both. She didn't flinch, even when Greta flushed the burn between her shoulder blades with water, dabbed it off, then placed a clean bandage over it. "You're a glowing little ember." "All right." Marcus chuckled. He accepted another kiss on his nose. "Ooh, I think she's in love, Marcus," Victor, one of the other firefighters, hooted. Marcus looked up into Ember's smaller brown eyes and smiled. Yes, he supposed. He might be a little in love, too. "Looks like somebody might be taking home a new dog," Greta teased. She elbowed her coworker before packing up the first aid equipment. Marcus grinned and watched the little puppy in his hand chew and tug on the thumb of his glove. She was sweet and determined and unflappable. She nearly died, and there she was, tussling with his thumb. She was a good dog for sure. But Marcus's smile disappeared when he thought of his own dog at home, Sadie. She was a good dog, too, and Marcus' best canine friend. Her puppy days were well behind her, and they had been together since Marcus was a boy. Sadie was old and a bit frail, and would be insulted by the new puppy. even with one with floppy ears, a twinkle in her eye, and diamond-shaped burn on the back of her neck. No, he could not bring this puppy home. He could not do that to Sadie. "You're too little to leave your mama," Marcus said softly to Ember. "Besides, they were able to find you a good home at the shelter. That's where people go to find dogs. Someone will definitely want you." Ember looked up at the man. She didn't know what he was talking about, but she liked his voice, and she liked his glove. She liked to bite it. It felt good on her itchy puppy teeth. "Oh, would you look at that?" The owner of the burned house walked over to the firefighters and dogs. Her gray hair was in disarray. She had a lost look about her that Marcus had seen before. She seemed shocked. Losing your home to flames was hard to grasp. The woman peered at the puppy in Marcus's hand, and her own hands flew to her mouth as tears filled her eyes. Her house was gutted, but she had lost nearly everything, and yet lives have been spared. Even this tiny new life in the firefighter's hand. "I'm so glad those dogs are safe," she said. "I had no idea they were living under my house. They could have been trapped or—" Greta was the one packing up the supplies, kneeled back down to pet the mama dog, and the wiggly puppies squirming all around her, trying to nurse. "They were probably living under your back hall for a while," she exclaimed to the woman gently. "I'd say these puppies are around 3 weeks old." "I had no idea," the woman repeated, shaking her head. "How would you have known?" Greta asked soothingly. She raised a hand to wave over the man in an animal services uniform. She called animal services as soon as she realized that the dogs were going to the shelter. "I wish I could keep them," the woman said, sniffling. "But I'm not even sure where I'm going to end up after." Her eyes welled with fresh tears and looked from the dogs to her house. A few firefighters were still soaking hot spots, and her voice trailed off. "We'll take care of the dogs." The animal services man reassured her. He was experienced at assessing the scene and getting right to work. He patted the home worker's shoulder before kneeling down at the Labrador and her little litter. "You don't need to worry about these puppers. They're going to be just fine." "Here, Mama," the worker offered the mother a dog treat, which she took gratefully, then put a second treat in the open crate he'd brought with him and placed nearby. "More inside," he said, and patted the big carrier box. Ember's mom stood weirdly and walked inside, her puppies bumbling along at her heels. "There you go," the worker smiled and glanced up at Marcus, who was still holding the yellow puppy. Is that one yours?" he asked. "Afraid not." Marcus was surprised to feel a lump in his throat. He said, as he swallowed and bent his neck to touch his nose to the dog's tiny muzzle. "Take care, little Ember," he whispered into her floppy ear. He squatted down and placed her gently in the crate with her family, slipping off his glove to stroke her fur. Then, without thinking, he tucked his glove beside her so she could keep chewing on the way to the shelter. Ember looked up at the nice man before snuggling in with her brothers and her sisters and her chewy new glove. And that is it for Chapter 2. I will read Chapter 3 tomorrow. Have a nice day, everybody, if you're seeing this. Deuces.